The explosions looked real. The emotions felt raw. The heroes seemed larger than life. But what you saw on the screen was only half the story. Because behind the cameras, beyond the flashing lights and billion-dollar budgets, Hollywood's biggest blockbusters are built on secrets that almost never make it into the spotlight. It's the kind of secrets that can make or break a film. The kind of secrets that reveal just how fragile, chaotic, and unbelievable the movie-making machine truly is. For every polished scene you've ever watched in awe, there was a moment of madness no one was supposed to see. Actors breaking down under the weight of impossible demands. Stunt doubles risking everything for a 5-second shot. Directors clashing with studios in battles that could have ended careers. And yes, moments where disaster almost ended production entirely. These are the stories the red carpet never shows you. Kind of moments that make you realize Hollywood is not just glitz and glamour, it's sweat, sacrifice, and sometimes even blood. In this journey, we're pulling back the curtain on 10 of the biggest blockbusters in history. You'll see how stars almost lost their roles, how accidents turned into miracles, and how some of the most unforgettable moments in cinema came from sheer chaos. Because the truth is simple. The magic of Hollywood isn't just what happens on screen at S, what survives behind the scenes. And as you're about to discover, some of these behind-the-scenes revelations are more shocking, more dramatic, and more unforgettable than the movies themselves. But beware once you know what really went on. You'll never look at your favorite films the same way again, and this is only the beginning. The magic of blockbusters. Every generation has its own movie moments. Kind of scenes that make you lean forward in your seat, heart-pounding, convinced you are witnessing something unforgettable. A spaceship soaring across the stars, a superhero rising from the rubble, a car chase so wild you feel the rumble in your chest. These moments are what we call blockbuster magic. But here's the truth. The magic is an illusion built carefully, painfully, and often dangerously, by hundreds of people working behind the curtain. The audience sees perfection. Behind the lens, chaos. Think about it. When Titanic graced the screen, people were swept away by Jack and Rose's romance. But off-screen actors fought freezing water tanks and grueling 14-hour days, while the director demanded take after take until exhaustion blurred the line between performance and reality. The love story that made audiences cry was born out of near misery. When Jurassic Park unleashed dinosaurs onto the big screen, it looked effortless, like science had simply brought beasts back to life. But in reality, it was puppeteers crammed inside metal frames, sweat dripping under hot lights, engineers fighting machines that refused to move as they were supposed to. Every roar, every snap of teeth was a dance of wires and wires breaking. That's the duality of Hollywood's blockbusters. On one hand, we see escape. On the other, those who make it live through grueling ordeals just to deliver that escape. And this is why behind-the-scenes stories are often more dramatic than the films themselves. The magic of blockbusters is not just in the scenes that make us gasp. It's in the fact that those scenes exist at all surviving tight budgets, clashing egos, accidents, near tragedies, sheer human willpower. Because every time you see a hero triumph on screen, remember this? There was a second hero. You never saw the crew who built that world, one imperfect, back-breaking step at a time. And as you'll soon see, sometimes the chaos behind the camera is so shocking. It nearly destroyed the very films we now consider untouchable classics. But nothing sets the stage for chaos more than casting, the very first step that can make or break a blockbuster. Casting nightmares. Every blockbuster begins with a script. But scripts are nothing without actors who bring them to life. Casting is where dreams meet disaster. And behind some of Hollywood's biggest films lie casting stories so chaotic, they could have been movies themselves. Think of The Matrix. Today, it's impossible to imagine anyone other than Keanu Reeves as Neo. But what if I told you he wasn't the first choice? In fact, he wasn't even the fifth. Us. The studio chased Will Smith, who famously turned it down, preferring to work on Wild Wild West, a decision he later admitted regretting. Imagine how different the red pill, blue pill choice would have felt. Would it have worked? Would the film have become the cult-defining blockbuster it is today? We will never know. Or take Titanic. Leonardo DiCaprio's role as Jack Dawson turned him into an international heartthrob. Yet during auditions, DiCaprio almost lost the role because he refused to read lines aloud, cocky and convinced he didn't need to prove himself. James Cameron, the perfectionist director, nearly kicked him out of the room until Kate Winslet demanded a chemistry test. The moment they performed together, Cameron knew he had struck gold. But it was a razor-thin margin between cinematic immortality and disaster. Sometimes the nightmare comes after casting. Look at Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox's Marty McFly is legendary, but here's the twist. He wasn't the original actor. The studio had already shot weeks of footage with Eric Stoltz before realizing his performance lacked the energy they wanted. Imagine the sinking feeling of telling an actor who had already lived in that role, "Sorry, you're out." The crew had to reshoot almost everything, costing millions, but saving the movie. And then there are the cases where actors nearly walked away mid-production. Harrison Ford was so frustrated with the constant rewrites during Star Wars that he begged George Lucas to kill off Han Solo. "You can write this stuff, George," Ford once snapped, "but you sure can't say it." If Lucas had listened, one of cinema's most beloved characters would have died long before his time. The stakes in casting are colossal. Get it right, and the audience feels destiny at work. Get it wrong, and the whole movie collapses. Behind every perfect fit lies a battlefield of doubt, fights, rejected auditions, and second-guessing. Audiences see the finished character. What they never see are the dozens, sometimes hundreds of faces who almost got the role. Hollywood is filled with ghosts of blockbusters that could have been. And as we move deeper into the world behind the camera, the question becomes, what happens when casting nightmares are just the beginning? Because once the actors are locked in, the real war begins on set. Chaos on set. Every blockbuster we love comes wrapped in polished, flawless cinematography, seamless performances, and dazzling effects. But what audiences never see are the battles behind the camera. Chaos on set is the dirty secret of Hollywood, and sometimes the real drama unfolds when the director yells action. Take The Wizard of Oz. Beloved today as a family classic, its production was more nightmare than fairy tale. The Wicked Witch of the West, played by Margaret Hamilton, suffered second-degree burns when her green makeup made with toxic copper caught fire during a pyrotechnic stunt. She spent weeks recovering, and the studio coldly continued shooting without her. Meanwhile, the Tin Man's makeup contained pure aluminum powder. So toxic it poisoned actor Buddy Ebsen and nearly killed him. The studio replaced him silently, never telling audiences why he vanished. Fast forward to modern blockbusters, and the chaos only grows bigger. During Apocalypse Now, director Francis Ford Coppola pushed his crew to the brink. Tropical storms destroyed sets, actors fell ill, and Marlon Brando showed up overweight and unprepared, refusing to read his lines. Coppola famously had a nervous breakdown and even threatened suicide. Yet out of that bedlam came one of cinema's greatest war films, a miracle born from madness. Sometimes the chaos turns deadly. On the set of The Crow in 1993, Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, was killed after a prop gun fired a real bullet due to negligence. Hollywood rushed to finish the movie, but the tragedy haunted everyone involved. To this day, the incident stands as a stark reminder of how one overlooked detail can destroy lives. But not all chaos is tragic, some of it is hilariously absurd. On Titanic, James Cameron was a tyrant for authenticity. He forced actors into freezing water tanks for hours until they were numb, demanding realism at any cost. At one point, crew members spiked the soup at catering with PCP, causing dozens of cast and crew to hallucinate on set. Imagine filming one of the most dramatic romances in history, while your team is unintentionally tripping. And then there is the issue of actors clashing. Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone despised each other while filming The Lords of Flatbush. Their feud grew so intense that Gere was kicked off the movie altogether. Stallone later claimed Gere deliberately spilled food on him, and the tension never healed. To this day, they still cannot stand each other. Even legends aren't safe from chaos. On The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker terrified not only audiences, but the cast itself. Ledger stayed in character, whispering in dark corners, and even sending creepy gifts to colleagues. Michael Caine admitted forgetting his lines during Ledger's first scene because the performance was so unsettling. While it created brilliance on screen, behind the scenes it left many shaken. And sometimes, chaos comes from directors obsessed with detail. Stanley Kubrick forced Shelley Duvall to redo her breakdown scene in The Shining 127 times. Yes, 127 takes in till her hair literally fell out from stress. Audiences see a haunted woman breaking under supernatural terror. In reality, they saw an actress breaking under her director's cruelty. But the most astonishing thing? Out of this madness, masterpieces are born. The chaos we never see often becomes the magic we never forget. Yet if chaos on set is unpredictable, what happens when a movie enters its next stage, the world of special effects? Because once the cameras stop rolling, the fight to bring the impossible to life has only just begun. Special effects secrets, Hollywood magic, S&T just born in front of the camera conjured in the shadows. In dimly lit rooms where artists and technicians bend reality itself, special effects are the invisible hands that make dragons fly, superheroes soar, and alien worlds feel real. But behind every breathtaking shot lies a story of experimentation, accidents, and sometimes absolute chaos. Take Jurassic Park 1993. Audiences gasped when they saw dinosaurs roar to life with skin, scales, and soul. But few know the terror behind the curtain. The full-size T-Rex animatronic weighed nearly 9 tons and was controlled by hydraulic power. During filming, rain caused the beast's foam skin to absorb water, making it shudder uncontrollably, almost as if it were alive. Crew members admitted they were scared to go near it, convinced it could crush them with one wrong move. Then came The Matrix 1999, a film that redefined action cinema. It's the famous bullet time effectware. Neo dodges bullets in slow motion, was not computer-generated but created by rigging 120 still cameras in a circle. Each camera fired in sequence, producing that revolutionary spinning slow-motion shot. Today, it's iconic, but back then, it was a gamble that nearly bankrupted the visual effects team. Sometimes, effects are more dangerous than dazzling. In Terminator 2, Judgment Day, the liquid metal villain T-100 seemed futuristic. But to achieve it, the team had to invent new CGI software from scratch. At one point, the studio doubted it would ever work. James Cameron pushed his crew so hard that some animators slept under their desks, yet their suffering changed the film industry forever, ushering in a new digital era. But not every special effect ends up legendary. Some crash spectacularly. Cats 2019 tried to blend live action with digital fur technology, and the result was a nightmarish fever dream that audiences could not unsee. Critics ripped it apart, memes flooded the internet. What was meant to be a revolutionary effect became Hollywood's most infamous misstep. And then there's Star Wars. The original trilogy transformed cinema with its pioneering effects, but George Lucas was constantly battling time and money. The iconic lightsaber glow. It was created by coating sticks with reflective material and shining special lights on them primitive, yet groundbreaking. What fans didn't know, sometimes the glow failed mid-scene, forcing actors to swing around dull plastic sticks until the post-production team could rescue the illusion. Even with today's technology, mistakes sneak through. In Avengers Endgame, eagle-eyed fans noticed Captain America's shield magically repairing itself between scenes, a glaring continuity error buried in a sea of visual effects. With hundreds of artists working across different studios, even billion-dollar movies aren't immune to flaws. But here's the irony. The most unforgettable effects aren't always the flashiest. Consider Inception. The rotating hallway fight scene wasn't CGI at all. It was a real set mounted on a massive rotating rig. Actors fought while the world literally spun around them. No green screens, no shortcuts, just sheer filmmaking madness. Special effects shape how we dream on screen, but they come at a cost. Endless hours, broken backs, and even broken hearts. They remind us that what we see on screen isn't just fantasy. It's sweat, risk, and a little bit of insanity. But if effects create the illusion, what happens when the illusion shatters? When scandal, not spectacle, becomes the headline. Scandals and cover-ups, Hollywood glitters on the outside. But behind the sparkling red carpets and flashing cameras lies a darker truth, a world of secrets, scandals, and cover-ups that studios will do anything to bury. For every blockbuster success story, there's a hidden chapter that almost derailed careers, destroyed reputations, or exposed the industry's darkest underbelly. Take The Wizard of Oz, 1939. The film that enchanted generations was a nightmare behind the scenes. Judy Garland, only 16 at the time, was fed pills by studio executives to control her weight and keep her awake for grueling shoots. The Tin Man's silver makeup, it poisoned the first actor cast, hospitalizing him. The Wicked Witch's fire stunt went horribly wrong, leaving actress Margaret Hamilton with severe burns. While audiences saw magic, the reality was pain, pressure, and cruelty carefully hidden by MGM. Fast forward to Cleopatra 1963, the film that nearly bankrupted 20th Century Fox. The scandal wasn't just its ballooning budget, but the off-screen romance between Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. Fox panicked, fearing the scandal would sink the film. Instead, it made the movie a cultural sensation, but at the cost of the studio's financial stability. Then there's Apocalypse Now, 1979, Francis Ford Coppola's war epic that spiraled into chaos. Marlon Brando showed up overweight, unprepared, and unwilling to memorize lines. Martin Sheen suffered a near-fatal heart attack on set. Typhoons destroyed sets in the Philippines. Coppola admitted later, "We had access to too much money, too much equipment, and little by little, we went insane." The studio tried to downplay the disasters. But rumors of madness leaked, fueling the film's legendary status. Hollywood also has a long tradition of fixers, people hired by studios to cover up the sins of their stars. From drunk driving arrests to illicit affairs, these shadowy figures worked overtime to protect the industry's golden image. Some scandals never saw the light of day, till decades later, when biographies and leaked documents exposed just how far studios went to silence the truth. Even modern blockbusters aren't immune. Justice League 2017 was plagued by controversy after director Zack Snyder left due to family tragedy, and Joss Whedon took over. Reports of toxic set behavior, racial bias, and abusive treatment of actors emerged later. Warner Bros. Initially denied it all, but as cast members spoke out, the truth couldn't be hidden. Fans demanded justice, leading to the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League in 2021. And who can forget The Interview 2014? It started as a satirical comedy nearly caused an international crisis. Hackers threatened Sony Pictures after the film mocked North Korea's leader. The FBI later confirmed it was a state-sponsored attack. Major theater chains pulled out, costing millions. For weeks, Hollywood was less about premieres and more about political fallout. But perhaps the biggest scandal of the modern era wasn't tied to a single movie, it was tied to the system itself. The Harvey Weinstein revelations in 2017 cracked Hollywood's golden facade wide open. Suddenly, decades of abuse, silence, and cover-ups were laid bare. The industry was forced to reckon with its toxic culture, and the #MeToo movement changed Hollywood forever. What makes these scandals unforgettable? Isn't just the drama, is how they reveal the tension between illusion and reality. Hollywood sells dreams, but behind the scenes, those dreams are often fueled by exploitation, cover-ups, and damage control. And yet audiences keep watching. In fact, scandals sometimes make films more legendary. Cleopatra became iconic. Apocalypse Now became myth, and even disasters like Justice League gained cult followings because of the controversy. But scandals are only half the story. If secrets and cover-ups show the cracks in Hollywood's armor, what about the people who rise above them? The stars who break the mold, defy the odds, and rewrite the script of fame. The stars who changed Hollywood. Hollywood may be powered by studios, money, and marketing, but it is the stars who truly define it. Certain actors and actresses don't just headline films, they reshape the very fabric of the industry. They set trends, shatter records, and inspire generations. Think of Marlon Brando. Before him, Hollywood acting was stiff, theatrical, and carefully rehearsed. Brando stormed onto the screen with raw, natural intensity in A Streetcar Named Desire in 1951. His mumbling, rebellious presence redefined acting itself, influencing everyone from Al Pacino to Robert De Niro. Hollywood wasn't the same after Brando. He didn't just play roles, he lived them. Then came Marilyn Monroe. More than a bombshell, she was a cultural icon whose presence turned even simple comedies into global sensations. But behind the glittering smile, Monroe's struggle for respect as a serious actress revealed the industry's darker side. She fought against typecasting, pushed for creative control, founded her own production company, something unheard of for women at the time. Fast forward to the modern blockbuster era, Arnold Schwarzenegger. When The Terminator 1984 hit screens, Schwarzenegger's robotic ILB Bakwazan T just to line it became part of global pop culture. He didn't just star in action films, embodied the rise of the muscle-bound action hero of the 80s and 90s. His presence made studios realize that one actor's charisma could carry billion-dollar franchises. Then there's Will Smith, who leaped from television, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, to becoming one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. His charm and versatility made films like Independence Day, 1996, and Men in Black, 1997 global events. Smith proved that charisma and relatability could dominate the box office in a way that transcended borders. And who could ignore Meryl Streep? While Hollywood often sidelines women as they age, Streep defied every stereotype. Her command of roles, accents, and emotional depth earned her more Academy Award nominations than any other actor in history. She transformed the idea of what it meant to be a leading woman in Hollywood, not just glamorous, but powerful, enduring, and versatile. Of course, we can't talk about Hollywood game changers without mentioning Robert Downey Jr., once nearly written off due to personal struggles. He made one of the greatest comebacks in entertainment history. His role as Tony Stark in Iron Man 2008 launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, reshaping not only his career, but the entire film industry. Without Downey's swagger and heart, superhero films might never have dominated global box offices the way they do today. And in recent years, stars like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have taken the baton. With his crossover from wrestling to Hollywood, he proved that charisma and hard work could catapult someone from niche fame into becoming one of the most bankable names in the world. Studios know if The Rock is on the poster, audiences will show up. These stars didn't just act. They changed the way Hollywood markets films, how studios view star power, and how audiences connect with stories. They became more than performers. They became brands, movements, and cultural forces. But here's the twist. For every star who changes Hollywood, there's a new wave of technology threatening to change the very definition of stardom itself. The rise of technology and blockbusters. Once upon a time, Hollywood magic was all about actors, sets, and practical stunts. But as the 20th century gave way to the 21st, a new force rose from the shadows. Technology. It did not just enhance films, it rewrote the very language of cinema. The revolution began quietly with Jurassic Park in 1993, when the dinosaurs roared across the screen. Audiences could hardly believe what they were seeing. Yes, some were animatronics, but others were crafted entirely through cutting-edge computer-generated imagery. This was the first time digital creatures felt real, and it sent a shockwave through the industry. Suddenly, directors realized that imagination no longer had limits. From there, the wave only grew stronger. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, 2001 to 2003, gave the world Gollum, brought to life by Andy Serkis through motion capture technology. It was groundbreaking not just because a digital character existed alongside human actors, but because Gollum acted. His pain, his hunger, his twisted humanity were all visible through pixels. For the first time, technology delivered not just spectacle, but soul. Then came Avatar in 2009. James Cameron gambled on 3D in advanced motion capture suits, creating the lush world of Pandora. Many predicted it would flop. Instead, it became the highest-grossing film of all time, proving that audiences would embrace not just a story, but an experience. From that moment, blockbuster filmmaking wasn't just about actors, it was about immersion. But with every leap forward, there are risks. The heavy reliance on green screens has, at times, created films that feel hollow or fake. Critics slammed Green Lantern 2011 for drowning its story under lifeless sea. GI, even Marvel, which dominated the last decade, has faced backlash for overworked visual effects. With artists speaking out about impossible deadlines and burnout, technology can dazzle, but it can also overwhelm. And yet, innovation keeps marching forward. Consider The Mandalorian and its use of the volume, a massive LED stage that projects digital environments in real time. Suddenly, actors are not staring at green walls. They are immersed in living, breathing worlds. Directors can adjust sunsets with the turn of a dial. What once took months of post-production can now be achieved on set. But perhaps the most controversial frontier is artificial intelligence. Already AI is being used to de-age actors, resurrect voices, and even generate background characters. Some hail it as the future, others as a threat to creativity itself. Will AI eventually replace extras, writers, even actors? That fear has sparked heated debates across Hollywood, especially in light of recent strikes where creators demanded protection against machines rewriting their art. Technology has shifted power in Hollywood. Once it was stars who carried films. Today, franchises like Marvel, Star Wars, and Fast and Furious often sell tickets before the actors are even announced. Spectacle itself has become the star. And yet audiences still crave humanity. Behind every technological breakthrough, the heartbeat of cinema remains the same. Story, emotion, connection. When technology serves those, it soars. When it replaces them, it collapses. But here is the cliffhanger. As technology pushes Hollywood into uncharted territory, what does it mean for the future of stardom, storytelling, and the very definition of movies? The future of Hollywood has always been about reinvention. It's from silent films to talkies, from black and white reels to Technicolor, from practical sets to green screens. Every era has forced the industry to adapt or die. Today, the stakes have never been higher, and the future of Hollywood is unfolding faster than anyone imagined. The first seismic shift came with streaming wars. Once, the theater was sacred. People lined up around blocks for opening nights, popcorn in hand, waiting for that big screen spectacle. But Netflix changed everything. By releasing films directly into homes, it forced studios to rethink distribution. Soon Disney+, HBO Max, Amazon, and Apple followed, and suddenly the battlefield wasn't box office, it was living rooms. But this convenience came at a cost. Some feared the death of theaters. When the pandemic hit, those fears nearly became reality. Theaters went dark, release dates evaporated, and Hollywood stared into the abyss. Yet against the odds, blockbusters like Top Gun, Maverick, and Spider-Man, No Way Home proved that people still craved the communal big-screen experience. The theater isn't dead, it's just evolving. The second shift is globalization. Once upon a time, Hollywood made films for America first. Today, markets like China, India, and Latin America shape what gets greenlit. Studios now design blockbusters to appeal to global audiences, sometimes at the cost of nuance. Stories are tailored for universal themes, heroes, spectacle, family, while cultural specificity can be ironed out. It raises the question, is Hollywood becoming more inclusive or more generic? The third and, perhaps most urgent shift, is technology and identity. Artificial intelligence, digital doubles, and even deepfakes are no longer science fiction. They are tools, and some fear they could replace human creativity altogether. The Writers Guild strike of 2023 showed how serious this threat feels to artists. Hollywood's future may hinge on whether technology is used to enhance storytelling or erase its human core. But there is hope. Independent filmmakers now have platforms they never dreamed of before. A movie shot on an iPhone can find an audience worldwide. Social media has given rise to creators who bypass traditional Hollywood entirely, building fan bases on TikTok, YouTube, and beyond. The gatekeepers no longer hold all the keys. So what does the future of Hollywood look like? Likely a hybrid, a blend of massive blockbusters that still pack theaters, streaming giants that compete for binge-watch loyalty, and grassroots creators who redefine what storytelling means. Yet one truth remains constant. Whether through a $300 million spectacle or a 2-minute viral short, audiences crave the same thing: to feel, to be transported, to witness a story that reminds them of who they are and who they could be. Hollywood may be changing, but the heartbeat of cinema is eternal. The screen, whether big or small, will always be a mirror, reflecting our hopes, fears, and dreams. And as we've seen, sometimes the real drama is not on the screen at all. It's behind the scenes, where chaos, genius, and passion collide to create the unforgettable magic of movies.